I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. So the approach, I guess, by Donald Trump's lawyers in connection with the new criminal case brought by Special Counsel Jack Smith in Washington, D.C., I guess the Trump approach is to have his lawyers just admit to the crimes and then just say the whole system is rigged. Donald Trump's lawyers just gave a series of bizarre media interviews where they're basically like, he did it. I don't know if it's inadvertent or accidental, if it's an intentional strategy, if they're morons, all of the above. But on these interviews, they're admitting to the crime. Like at the same time Donald Trump is being arraigned, his lawyers are generating evidence to be used by Special Counsel Jack Smith against Donald Trump. Here, let me show you. This is John Lauro, Donald Trump's newest hire, new lawyer. I guess it's Tacopino 2.0. And John Lauro says, yeah, Donald Trump asked Pence to pause voting for the electoral count for 10 days so the state legislatures could take care of it. Yeah, that's a violation of the law. And by the way, you want to hear what Pence, a fact witness, is going to say, John Lauro? I think he's going to contradict you. First, let me play you Lauro. Then I'm going to play you Pence. And then I want to show you Trump's other lawyers. They went on an admission spree. Here, this is John Lauro.
But listening to you over the past couple of days, I know President Trump has concerns. You have concerns. I have concerns about the fairness of that election, ballot boxes that weren't guarded, ballots that went out to everybody on the rolls when the rolls were out of date. You're prepared to go there.
Absolutely. President Trump wanted to get to the truth. He desperately wanted to get to what happened during the 2020 cycle. He did it in the courtroom. He did it in lobbying legislatures. That's all First Amendment. And then at the end, he asked Mr. Pence to pause the voting for 10 days, allow the state legislatures to weigh in, and then they could make a determination to audit or re-audit or recertify. But what he didn't do is send in the tanks, tell Mr. Pence don't go to the Capitol Hill, or do anything that would obstruct the due process of government. He was simply petitioning the government the same way we have those rights with his complaints and redresses and objections to the election cycle. He's entitled to do that. If we criminalize that speech, I fear what's going to happen in the next election cycle when perhaps a new administration is going to come in and there's going to be a lot of talk about identifying Democrats who obstructed the 2024 cycle.
Something else.
All right. Well, what does former Vice President Pence has to say? He goes, I wasn't asked to do a pause. I was asked to overthrow the results by Donald Trump's crackpot lawyers. I guess John Lauro wants to be in that make attorney, get attorney crew. Here, this is former Vice President Pence.
Let's be clear on this point. It wasn't just that they asked for a pause. The president specifically asked me, and his gaggle of crackpot lawyers asked me to literally reject votes, which would have resulted in the issue being turned over to the House of Representatives, and literally chaos would have ensued.
All right, and then you have Alina Habba, and she admits to it also. I mean, she says, yeah, everybody was aware that Donald Trump lost the election, but so what? Well, that is true that everybody was aware, and Special Counsel Jack Smith spoke to Donald Trump's inner circle, who have all stated that Donald Trump was aware. You go through the indictment, it talks about how Donald Trump knowingly engaged in criminal conduct. He said things to former Vice President Pence when Pence says, you're breaking the law. And Donald Trump would be like, Pence, you're being too honest. You're too honest of a guy. Like those quotes are in there. And where Special Counsel Jack Smith's getting it from? He's getting it from Pence. Anyway, here's the clip of Alina Habba, again, making an admission of Donald Trump's crimes.
There's testimony and there's a number of aides that have said that the president was made aware that he lost the election and yet continued to argue that it was stolen from him. How do you reconcile those two things?
Well, I think that everybody was made aware that he lost the election, but that doesn't mean that that was the only advice he was given. As anybody understands what happens in the Oval Office, there are a numerous amount of advisors and politicians and lawyers, not just one or two, that are giving you advice and telling you what they believe is true. So he may not agree with Mike Pence. He may not agree with one of his lawyers, but that doesn't mean that there weren't other people advising him exactly the opposite. And the president has a right, as every one of us do, to listen to several opinions and make their decision.
Yeah, and by the way, here's, I guess, Alina Habba's other defense is to say, what was the crime? What was the crime? What you just said was part of the crime. Play the clip.
About free speech, but the special counsel says Trump could have disagreed with the results and talked about it. No crime there. The difference is what he did to try and switch the votes.
So what is it that he did to try and switch the votes that you refer to? By bringing cases, by using the law in an appropriate manner, unlike what we're sitting here today seeing. This is not appropriate. What President Trump did is he said, go patriotically and peacefully and protest. That is an American right. That is why we are America and we are not a third world country. Although I will say that today, I don't feel very much like we are in America. Yes.
And then you have, Donald Trump's other kind of sycophantic cult followers. Like, here's what Carrie Lake says. Carrie Lake's like, you know what we really need to do now? We shouldn't impeach Biden. That's too soft. She goes, what should really happen is we need Congress now to decertify the 2020 election. Let's get Trump back into power now. This is what the MAGA Republicans are saying right now. It's not even a defense. They're still talking about a coup. They're still engaged. They're admitting the crimes and they're doing the coup right now before our eyes. And that's not hyperbole. Oh, Ben, you're calling it a coup. Listen to what they're saying. Listen to what they're saying. Play this clip of Carrie Lake.
This is a guy who's already won. He won in 2016. He won even bigger in 2020. All that January 6th was a staged riot to cover up the fact that they certified a fraudulent election. And I agree with a lot of what Kash said about impeachment. If we just go back and deal with this fraudulent election and what happened in 2020, we don't have to impeach him because he really isn't, in my opinion, and many others, and you look at the evidence, the true president. Why don't we decertify 2020? And that's the way we deal.
And it's important to know that because you may be saying, well, Ben, why are they doing this? Well, they exist outside of the legal system. They're not law and order. They don't go through the justice system. They are telling us who they are. They are fascists, and they're just saying it. They're saying, hey, just put him back in power right now. We need a coup. And even the lawyers are like, so what? He said to pause the counting. Well, we know what Pence said, and you can't just throw it to the state legislatures. There is an electoral college. Trump lost. You can't just throw it to an illegal scheme to have state legislatures overthrow the results of the election. That's a crime. And the lawyer's just saying it. Here is, and this is their other approach that they've been saying, Donald Trump's lawyer, custodian of records, and she's also a host of some Trump rallies. She either moonlights as Trump's lawyers or moonlights as the propagandist reporter for one of these MAGA Republican right side broadcast things where she asks all of the people questions about how great is Donald Trump outside of the events. So what she and Eric Trump and people are saying is, well, now we get to prove what really happened in the 2020 election. That's what they're saying. She goes, so we're going to subpoena Brad Raffensperger. We're going to subpoena the State Farm Arena. Still spreading in 2023, the conspiracies and the lies. This is how deranged these people are. Play the clip.
But when you're a federal prosecutor trying to prosecute a president of the United States and you say, the State Farm Arena video has been debunked. Well, no, it hasn't. Let's get into that. Let's subpoena Brad Raffensperger. Let's subpoena State Farm Arena. Let's subpoena everything that happened to Georgia because you want to say that it's debunked, but we've never seen the ballots. Let's see the ballots. We're not just going to take your word for it. And I think they will be surprised at the level of detail with which their indictment is just flat out wrong.
When I mentioned that they exist outside of a judicial system, outside of law and order, and that's so much on display in the House of Representatives when the MAGA Republicans took control of the House of Representatives and they hold hearings. They always accuse witch hunt. They do the witch. I don't love that term, but that's what they're doing. They're the ones who engage in that conduct, and they're not evidence based. They're not evidence-based at all. And so here in this interview, you'll see Hannity saying, do you believe that there is evidence? Do you believe that Biden's engaged in this bribery allegation? And rather than say, hey, remember what Jack Smith said? There is a presumption of innocence. Read the complaint, read the evidence, read the data. That's law and order. And here you've got Jim Jordan, not a licensed attorney. James Comer didn't even go to law school. At least Jim Jordan went to law school, although he's never passed the bar exam. And what they respond to Hannity about Biden is they go, I hope so. I hope we can prove it. There's a lot of smoke, so I hope we can prove it. That is the exact opposite of a law and order approach. I'm going to play this clip for you right now.
No. Do you believe that this is now officially the Joe Biden bribery allegation? And do you believe that you will be able to prove that? Jim Comer.
I sure hope so. And I do believe that there's a lot of smoke. And where there's smoke, there's fire. We just heard testimony today that Joe Biden had lied to the American people.
Jim.
So take a look at all of these clips and let's talk for just one more moment about the theme here. And so at the beginning, I said, whether they're, are they morons? Are they doing it on purpose? Are they incompetent? I think it's all of the above, right? When we talk about MAGA, MAGA equals the following: fascism plus idiocracy equals MAGA, the modern day Republican Party. That's a very simple equation, a very simple formula that I talk about. But they exist outside of our judicial system where I hope so, whatever, I hope so. And when they have to go into a courtroom, they are very frequently exposed, and they're not evidence-based. They're not fact-based. Hearsay on top of hearsay on top of hearsay. And what I always say, if some MAGA person reaches out to me and says, I just try to calmly say, hey, just show me the evidence. You can show me. I don't want to hear about deranged Jack. I don't want to hear about, Boris just saying the word Burisma. Show me evidence. Show me audio recordings. Show me testimony. Show me videos. Show me audio. Because that's what we do here on the MeidasTouch Network. We show audio. We show video. We show documents. We show deposition testimony. We show the data. And even if it takes a long time to do that, we analyze it together. That's should not have a political affiliation. That should just be us trying to come and derive at the truth. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Go to MeidasTouch.com, the new #1 destination for pro-democracy news. MeidasTouch.com. Thank you so much. Hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. Let's get to 1.5 million subscribers. Have a great day.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.